Good afternoon, greetings to each and everyone who is online at this point of time, or even if you are seeing a recorded version of this session. I am Professor Dinesh Gusai, would be facilitating this journey on entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship management. Now, quite a subject in itself, and looking into current context, it has become all the more relevant, important facet when it comes to business management and knowing the details and nitty-gritties about it as well. So, first thing, as we actually look into, let me tell you that what I would tell you is I will give you an overview of what's going to unroll or unleash or unwind in the coming 6-7 sessions of our module on entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship management. I would like to set certain frames that are important from a learning context, and those certain frames are: number one, each module would be of 2 hours. That means there would be around, in each module, 1 or 2 topics being covered in each module, and we would have around 7 to 8 modules of this kind. So we would be spending around 14 to 16 hours on this particular module. This is one area. Second, my request would be, as you are listening to this lecture, be it in an online mode or be it in a recorded version as well, my request would be take a pen and a paper so that you can jot down important points that you feel are important. 2, if you didn't understand any aspect where you feel that you need clarity, or you need some references to back up, or you feel some case studies need to be explored, so you can write that, jot that down and drop a mail to ISBM. There's a very structured way to go about it. Second, this is the second part. Third part is, it is important that when you are lining up for any learning module, especially if it's in a digital online mode, it is important that you keep your entire focus and attention on what's being taught, delivered as well. So these are the 3 top frames that are important from any learning context, and especially if it's a digital medium, it becomes all the more important. So let's delve and get into the subject. My request would be, when we would be exploring various areas of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship management, my request would be that you should have the learning curiosity to explore more. Now, one aspect is it's part of a curriculum. That's one. It's about marks, or modules, case studies, written exams, so on and so forth. But that's only one area of learning. The second area of learning, I'm sure many would have picked up the subject also because one of your dreams or aspiration would be to start off and take off and become an entrepreneur. May not be now, but might be at a certain point of time later. So whatever we are going to teach or discuss in these 14-16 hours, let me tell you that this is not just a theoretical framework or hierarchy of topic that is being dealt with, but it is coming through practical experiences, the reality-based, data-based key points that we are going to discuss with. So each facet and each module is important. So before I get into today's module, let me give you a broad overview of what all sub-modules that we are going to discuss in entrepreneurship management. So in entrepreneurship management, we'll be discussing, today's module will be on introduction to entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. We look into characteristics of entrepreneurs, what are the advantages, disadvantages, which kind of sector entrepreneurship people nearly start off. This is what the today's agenda would be. The other modules that we are going to look into are analysis on business planning, analysis on business opportunities, how to raise capital funds, venture capitals. We'll also look into the entrepreneurship management development, how to use human resource when it comes to entrepreneurship. We look into the role of women in current times in entrepreneurship. We'll also look into how to use MIS or reporting or feedback or database or data mining in entrepreneurship. We'll be also looking into subjects of what are the risks associated and what are the things that entrepreneurs need to do when it comes to crisis management for entrepreneurs. So this is a broad kind of overview that we are going to deal with. Today, our focus would be on understanding, detailing out, teasing and really picking up areas of understanding what is entrepreneurship, who are entrepreneurs, what is the correlationship between being an entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. We'll also look into what are the primary characteristics needed to become a good entrepreneur. We'll also looking into areas of sector-wise, for example, with a small-scale industry. What is their fragmentation when it comes to entrepreneurship. We'll also look into world over, what are the trends that are evolving in terms of entrepreneurs. So let's start the agenda with entrepreneurship. So what we're going to discuss in today's module, if you want to give an overview, would be what is an entrepreneur, characteristics of entrepreneur, planning to be an entrepreneur, growth pressure, managing a family business and corporate entrepreneurship. This is not the exact touch points would be as far as the module is concerned. Now, entrepreneur as a word comes from a French word origin called as an entreprise. Now, entreprise is to undertake. Now, there are various definitions that has came up when it comes to the definition of entrepreneur. So by the French origin word is to actually undertake a project, undertake a business, undertake an activity by providing goods and services so that it to make profits. Now, Adam Smith, the great economist, has defined entrepreneurship as a way of creating value through manufacturing or selling goods and services to make profit. So that's a more capitalistic point of view, and we can understand Adam Smith, coming from a economics background, has to define entrepreneur that way. Now, if you look from an Indian perspective, now, if this is what entrepreneurship means, now entrepreneurship means in simple definition doing business for yourself. Now, if you have looked into the current industry trends and market, now there were times for a young grad or young graduate 20 years back, 30 years back, the biggest aspiration that a person has was to join a government job, be it through UPSC, IPSC, or a banking, PO. All those kind of domains were very much there. But this trend has substantially changed with the evolution of IT, big time in the last 3 decades, number one. And also, people these days want more flexibility, freedom in which they work. So they are looking for opportunities so that they can they can exchange value for money. So if you look into entrepreneurs in India, now entrepreneurship in India, if you see, right from Tata's to Reliance to Hero to to families of Apollo Hospital to KIIT of Orissa based to the newly evolved entrepreneurs, right from Flipkart to Snapdeal to Cafe Coffee Days, so to Ola. So all these are the newer version or newer entrepreneurs that are built up now. And also important to understand, students, that people make big business and huge volumes of profits even with a small faction or small part of devotion being done to entrepreneurship or establishing business. I mean, you speak of an Ola, or you speak of a Flipkart, or you speak of a Snapdeal, you speak of a Paytm. Now, these are with digitalization, things have changed a lot, because earlier when people said that they want to start a business of themselves, one of the biggest constraint was setting up a capital, because a person might have knowledge, resource, but one of the biggest challenge factor was how to get the capital cost, which was running into lakhs and crores. Today, with venture capital, with gaining funds through capital through market, that has become easy. And plus, with digital markets, to start an own business doesn't require huge funds. So if you have expertise, if you have networks, people can collaborate and start a new venture. So we also need to understand, when we are speaking of entrepreneurship, is how is entrepreneurs different from intrapreneurs. Now, important to understand that entrepreneurs are people that notice opportunities and take initiative to mobilize resources to make new goods and services. Whereas intrapreneurs or INTR, intrapreneurs, they also notice opportunities and find initiative to mobilize resources, but they are still part of the company. So that means intrapreneurs, when I say, they might be innovators, they might form a team within the organization. They are working for a company, but they have a lot of independence and freedom as they work. Now, entrepreneurs often become entrepreneurs. Now, that's very clear that the natural cascading effect, where entrepreneurs aspire and look forward to become entrepreneurs because of more freedom, because of more aspiration, bigger dreams. So, entrepreneurship versus intrapreneurship. So, when you speak of intrapreneurship, it is always important that it is said very widely that in today's highly competitive world, if you need to sustain, survive, you need to have innovative products. Otherwise, an organization can become a dinosaur very fast. Now, if examples right from BlackBerry to Nokia to HMT, and there are thousands of more, where if you are not really constantly innovating, upgrading yourself to newer technologies, newer needs of what the customer wants, making the customer important by giving products which are making their lives more convenient, more valuable, time saving, cost effective. If you are not innovating on these counts, so for example, innovation, when we speak of entrepreneurs, they are primarily building on the fact that they are working on a couple of variables within existing. They say that any product or service is a problem solving tool for a customer. Now, whatever problem, if that problem, if you can simplify it, if you can reduce the cost, if you can make them more convenient, so the cost, quality, convenience, time. So cost, quality, convenience, time. Now, if these are the four variables through which any entrepreneur works on, so that for an end customer, it is problem solving. It makes the life more convenient, more comfortable, and ready to use, ease of operations. When we speak of entrepreneurship, they are people who form a team within the organization, who might be part of R&D team, or people who are evolving and want to deliver products and services. If you see, organization want to form product champions. Now it is important, as I mentioned, since every organization want to be competitive, now want to give state-of-art products or services, so they form teams who have got their innovative abilities going. So they could be product champions. It could be skunk works. Now skunk works is a management term. Now skunk works is a group of entrepreneurs kept separate from the rest of the organization. Now skunk work, now if you look organizations like Apple, like Oracle, like Amazon, now there are skunk work people who are not part of the main organization, but they form a separate team so that they keep on developing new concepts, new philosophies, new way of thinking, new way of delivering, new way of reducing cost, new way of reducing supply chain inventories, new ways to make end customers' life more comfortable, convenient, cost effective, and giving more quality oriented products. So there are skunk works. There's a new venture division. Now new venture division is a division that works on exclusively set of product pipeline, which is a generation next. So if you look into the IT sector these days, people are talking about IoT or Internet of Things. Now Internet of Things is a new venture division for quite a few companies where they're looking at how we can integrate various digital platforms and network it through one medium. For example, if you're in an office, you can still function your washing machine at home. So they're converting different networks. That's about new venture division. Now the division could be working on different platforms based on different industries. Now look at education itself. Now if you look at education itself, now the days of classroom learning only is a bygone era, isn't it? Look at this way of education learning itself, where people are connecting to various people across the globe in real-time experience. Now, is that innovation? Yes. Does it add value? Yes, for sure. So looking at an education perspective itself, it's not just about books, which today is an add-on, but there are other channels that are explored as well, and there are rewards for innovation as well. So within entrepreneurship, we'll find that teams could be product champions, it could be skunk works, it could be new venture division, or it could be rewards for innovation. Now, students, it is important to understand that entrepreneurs, as we have mentioned earlier, ultimately aspire to become entrepreneurs because they feel that at some point of time they might feel the rewards are less. At some point of time they feel that they want more freedom about it, more flexibility to work as well. One of the important cog in the wheel, students, is when it speaks of innovation, when you speak of entrepreneurship, is small business owners. Now, let's get into some data touch points which are very significant if you want to understand entrepreneurship to a very deepest level. So if you say small business owners are people who own equity stake and in a company with fewer than 500 employees. Now, in 1997, there were around 22 million small business in the United States standalone. And let me tell you that world over, one of the major chunk of GDP for many countries accounts to more than 60%. Now, if you look into Indian context itself, now if you see small scale to mid-size, the contribution of GDP coming from the FSI to the mid-cap industries are forming close to 60%. Now that's some size. 47% of employees by a small employees business. So that means that almost half of businesses done world over is coming from small scale industries or small business houses. And if you want to define what a small means, somewhere the employee strength is less than 500. Small. That's what we define by small business houses. Now, this is the one data touch point that we have, that is small business house. The second data touch point that is even more significant is the employee satisfaction. Now, whomsoever is working for an organization, now right from Gallup to a lot of research organization has conducted worldwide reports on employee satisfaction, that the questions on various category scales they were measured and the indices were collated, collected and measured by the feedback on, are you satisfied with your current employer? Now if you see, in companies with less than 50 employees, that's very small, 44% were satisfied. Now that means 56 were not. In companies with less than 1,000, 50 to 1,000, 31% were satisfied. That means 69 were not. And in businesses with more than 1,000, only 28% are satisfied. That means 72% were not. Now, this means that the larger the organizational size, the people who are not satisfied with their existing employer was higher. Yes, for sure. Now, as is being seen with this graph as well, where if you see the larger the employee size, right from, if you see the height of each of these bar, right from going from 44, 31, 28, with each bar chart, the satisfaction level with their existing employer was gradually decreasing. Now, are you getting the point that how is this chart significant from our discussion? That means that one of the negative motivation they say where people go on to start their own business is dissatisfaction. I repeat, one of the negative motivations where people want to start a business on their own is dissatisfaction. Now, if you see from this data touch point, larger the organization, chances are more that people leaving the organization and starting a business of their own are more. Does that make sense? Yes. So dissatisfaction need not necessarily lead to people starting the business. They can change a company, but eventually they find that things doesn't much change. But a major chunk who are dissatisfied, and if given a chance in terms of resource, opportunities, technical expertise, they're going to start a small business. Okay, advantages of small business. Now, we look at from a perspective of a different dimension as well. In the earlier slide, we saw that larger business houses, the number of employees who were dissatisfied were more. That also meant that in a smaller organization, employees who were satisfied were more. That means, be it even this small business house is also an entrepreneur. Is this an entrepreneur as well? Is he an entrepreneur as well? Yes. It says that for a smaller size of an enterprise, the people who are satisfied are more, and the reasons which were jotted down were greater opportunities to get rich through stock options. Now, when you are working for a small organization, that also means that your dependency, you tend to become more indispensable. That means that without you, things don't move, or you are so much indispensable to the job that the company can't afford to lose you, especially in a small organization. Now, if that's the case, the entrepreneur will try to give more perks and benefits to the employee as well. That also means it could be through incentive, it could be through perks or benefits, or it could be through ESOPs or employee stock option plan. Now, he feels more important in a small organization, feels more secured, and also there is a great level of comfort level, because since people are less, they tend to know each other well. There is a sense of ownership, the sense of responsibleness, and there's also a sense of family that sets in within the group, and that is become detrimental when it comes to small business houses. And that's precisely the reason. If you look into different companies, you'll figure out in a smaller organization, very small organization, where employee strength is say 50, 100 or so, people leaving the organization or attrition rate is very less. People still leave, but the attrition is less vis-a-vis a larger organization. One of the simple reasons is valuable importance and indispensability. This is the flip side about it, but there is also disadvantages as well. And disadvantages when it comes to smaller organization. Now, students need to understand, be it a small organization or large organization, they themselves are also entrepreneurs. Now, we have to look into from both perspectives. Now, for this small entrepreneur as well, the disadvantage, now we need to look into when we are learning entrepreneurship and we are having a small business house, these factors do come in very, very significantly. Disadvantages of a small business house being, one, low guaranteed pay. So the perks per se, if you compare it with a bigger organization, the perks are less. Yes, for sure. Two, benefits are few. One of the primary reasons for these top 2 points being, since the volume that the organization generates of a small business house cannot match to give perks. Expected to have many skills. Now, bigger the organization, the roles of a job is more defined. They are more detailed out. They are more boundaried. Vis-a-vis in a small organization, what happens is a single person tend to look into multiple factors. For example, there might not be a classical HR person in a small business house of maybe 50 people. So people from accounts might be looking into PR functions, might be looking into salaries. Some people of manufacturing would be also associated with sales. The people from the CEO would also be involved in a lot of operations things. So there is no clear-cut, well-defined nature of the job. There would be a particular job, but they are more associated to do multitasking. Too much of cohesion. That means that generally in a small scale unit, the 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 level of attachment and bonding is more. And one of the concerns that a small business unit might have because of this small little body is because of these cohesive factors or attractive factors are people might get into the comfort zone fast because it's more of a family culture, it's more of a legacy, it's more of knowing people by in and out. So so the force and impact to deliver results sometimes come down. So if the thrust and the pressure to deliver results is less, then for the entire organization that's not a great force. So this is the flip side of having that cohesive force. Hard to move on to big company. Now if an employee is working for for a small business unit for say 10 years, 15 years, he's adapted and set for a particular kind of culture and role. Now, after working for 10, 15 years, it would be very difficult to move on and work for a bigger organization because of the nature of work, the work style, the philosophy, the location, all those things matters. Large fluctuations in incomes is possible. So if you see what happens with a small scale business house who is also driving an enterprise is the fluctuations in terms of salaries are huge, wherein in a structured organization the fluctuations are less. There is more predictability of income. There is more methodicity and systematicity to the progression of incomes. So friends, important to understand that when an enterprise or an entrepreneur is driving a small enterprise, he need to be aware of this touch point because everything has their own flip side about it. So we will also now delve into very interesting topics of who are entrepreneurs and what are the common attributes that an entrepreneur demonstrates. So if you say common traits which are seen with an entrepreneur, one, original thinkers, they're innovators. We know that being an entrepreneur, they don't have the herd mentality. They have a line of thought which is slightly different from the pack. They're risk takers. Now it's very clear that if you are not risk taking, you cannot become an entrepreneur because risk about income, risk about security, risk about the business itself, risk about so many things. Taking responsibility for an actions. Now, when you think of entrepreneurship, it's about taking responsibility. An entrepreneur cannot put a blame on someone else for whatever results. For whatever results he is getting, he is responsible for his actions. Feel competent and capable. So one of the things that is important for an entrepreneur is one, to be competent in terms of his skills, his knowledge in a particular skill sets or domain, would be a functional knowledge. Set high goals and enjoy working towards them. So we always say that entrepreneurs are the drivers, they're the dreamers, they're the aspirers. They think big, they look forward to, they're the go-getters, they're the high flyers. They set big goals and push themselves to achieve those. They are always constantly pushing the envelope, dreaming big. Common traits from a systemic perspective when it comes to entrepreneurs are they are self-employed parents. So one of the legacy that they get is this we are seeing of second generation entrepreneur, where the early generation they say they were self-employed. Now self-employed could be a doctor, a lawyer, a trainer, could be any of those. They are firstborns. Now this is a very interesting phenomenon. Now when you say firstborn, they're the eldest in the family. Entrepreneurs invariably are eldest in the family. Now when they start a business, the age somewhere is between 30 to 50 years old. They are well educated. In fact, 80% have college degrees and one third have a graduate degree level. So a lot of them in current times are coming from a strong educational background. Now, these are very important facets of an entrepreneur. One, the traits and commonly seen features of an entrepreneur. So we look into, and we know that when we speak of entrepreneur, we know that not all entrepreneurs are successful. I mean, there's so many times that I'm sure you might have heard that people start a venture and within a year, 2 years, they back off. And there are lots of them. There are a lot of big names as well. And so common successful attributes that are seen when it comes to successful entrepreneurs are they are creative and innovative. Very important point. Entrepreneurship or to become an entrepreneur, it's not about making profits or money alone. Because if generating and collecting money is the primary intention of becoming an entrepreneur, then it's said that you're playing short, you're thinking short. It is important that we mentioned in the earlier slide also that they are the original thinkers. That means they think differently. They think original. They always constantly are in a thought process to innovate, to see what problem we can solve to an end customer. How can we reduce cost? How can we make it more system friendly? How can we deliver product at faster pace? How can we give better quality of service? So on and so forth. They position themselves in shifting or new markets. So entrepreneurs topographically or geographically also don't restrict themselves to a particular defined area. They're open to move around. Create new products that naturally comes through innovation. Create new processes or create new delivery chains. If you see unsuccessful entrepreneurs, the traits are they are poor managers. Now, important to understand, for an entrepreneur, it is not only important to keep on innovating, find for new things, but also important to manage whatever we are doing as well. So managing requires planning, managing requiring hierarchy of how do we manage the human resource. So a lot of entrepreneurs, they say the first two attributes, if you see on each side, creativity and being a good manager. Now they are primarily a paradox. So they say being creatively good and managing well are kind of paradox in itself. So what good entrepreneurs do is they restrict their domain operations to creative innovation. For managing the business, they might appoint managers. So for any nature of job that is transactional, that is a day-to-day affair, they appoint managers to manage the show. Unsuccessful entrepreneurship also showed low work ethics. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the objective of doing business is to create value. If that's not the ultimate mission, then customers identify. If customer identify that the objective is just to make money, then it's a question of ethics as well. They're inefficient. Now, when we say efficiency, it also factors in the question of time. So, in requisite time, are we finishing the job? Are we delivering products? Are we sufficiently evolving and producing new products? Failure to plan and prepare. Now, one of the very organizing principle of management is are we preparing well? Are we forecasting well? Are we organizing well? So preparing and planning are one of the three royal highways or philosophies for management. So very much essential. So they say that if you can't forecast what's happening in other next 5 years, 10 years to the industry, to new customer mindsets, difficult to work with, because an entrepreneur need to be a visualizer, a forecaster. Poor money manager. So we know that for any enterprise to work, the economic engine has to be sound. So just having functional competency or knowledge would not suffice. You need to have a very in-depth knowledge about how money runs, how the economic theory runs, how an organization runs, what and where is going to source our funds, how much is going to put in marketing, in sales, so on and so forth. So efficient knowledge about usage of money is important. So these are primarily traits of successful and unsuccessful entrepreneurs. So if you see the key personal attributes, strong managerial competencies and good technical skills, primary skill sets that are important for a successful entrepreneur. Key personal attributes. Now, this is from a management perspective. Now, this slide, it looks into what are certain personal attributes that adds value to become a successful entrepreneur. They say, old saying, entrepreneurs are not made, they are made, not born. That means that it requires certain mindset, it requires certain skills, knowledge, which can be groomed, shaped, learned. So many of these key attributes are developed early in life, with the family environment playing an important role. So if you look into from an Indian perspective, if you see a cultural framing of say Marwadis or Gujaratis or Punjabis in certain functions, so there is a legacy and lineage about it. So there are family values associated with doing business as well. So understanding of money becomes easy. Now, if you see examples of Reliance, Tatas, the Kirloskars, the Mahindras, now we are already into a third generation of Godrej, Parle. They're already into a third generation of entrepreneurs. So the legacy and the family value and upbringing of how to run a business is conditioned right from childhood. And that becomes a much easier when those generations come up and run the business. Entrepreneurs tend to have had self-employed parents. Now we mentioned about this, who tend to support and encourage independence, achievement and responsibility. Now, one of the key essential drive for entrepreneurs is independence. They love freedom. And if they love freedom, then entrepreneurship naturally attracts them, because freedom to try, to explore, to win, to lose. So freedom gives that natural kind of kick to try out new things. The firstborns tend to have a more entrepreneurial attributes because they receive more attention right from the beginning, being the first child, and force their way, thus creating higher self-confidence. So three things: one, if you have a family background; two, if you are a firstborn in the family; three, if you have a self-employed parents. Now these are the primary factors that add on, help to become successful entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurial careers. Now, how do the careers look like for an entrepreneur? Now, if you see the idea that entrepreneurial success leads to more entrepreneurial activity, and explain why entrepreneurial starts multiple companies over the course of the career. Now, if you find that, let's take an example of Reliance. Now, Reliance started its journey right from Dhirubhai Ambani from textiles, and they stuck with textiles with quite a number of years. When they moved to petroleum, that was during Dhirubhai Ambani's days. Now with the second generation coming in with Mukesh and Anil, you now know that Reliance is into a hell lot of domains, right from chemicals, oil refineries, petrol pumps, insurance, manufacturing, textiles, so on and so forth. If you look into other business houses, if you look at Tata, one of the pioneers when it comes to entrepreneurs, if you see right from Ratan Tata, if you have seen the kind of domains right from TCS to Tata Motors, to Tata Chemicals, to Tata Equipments, to Tata Agri, to a lot of, there's a gamut of operations, right from hotels, a group of Taj hotels. So there's an array of products. So it has been clearly evolved that once a person gets into entrepreneurship, a lot of times it has been observed that entrepreneur doesn't restrict himself to a particular domain. Now at this point of time, students, I would like to make you a note that when you say entrepreneur, it doesn't mean a single person. It could be a group, it could be two, it could be a combination of a team. So Infosys it was started by a couple of people, right from Narayan Murthy to Nandan Kenny and couple of few. So it could be a team. Their entrepreneurs could be a single entity, or it could be a multiple entity, right? Let's say, for example, Flipkart is another combo pack of running entrepreneurship. So if you see, it could be a corridor principle where using one business to start or acquire others and then repeating the process. So it could be corridor where people are moving to different businesses pipelines, or it could be serial entrepreneurs, wherein a person who found and operates multiple companies during one career. So one corridor is you stick to one line, you expand it, explore that, or it could be a series of different lines of businesses that works on. Now friends, freedom is one thing that entrepreneurs love it. The second is need for achievement. One of the prime characteristics observed, featured for all successful entrepreneurs. Observe that a person's desire for excellence, to achieve a large thing, to really make it big. They say entrepreneurs are the visionaries. They look at larger than life image. They don't. A lot of time, there's an old saying. It is said that for a lot of people, have skills, but sometimes you don't have a bigger thought to back that up. So they say it is very important to think big, so that if you think big, if you really dream big, and you have a passion about your dreams, then all your skills, knowledge, actions get aligned to that dream. Because if you think small, your actions become small. Your thinking needs to be big. So when you speak of entrepreneurs, the need for achievement is high. They're big thinkers. High achievers also take high responsibility for attaining their goals. They take into factor all accountability for themselves. Success is measured in terms of what these efforts have accomplished as well. So, say in that run for attainment, they also look into as a feedback mechanism, as milestones of where we have reached. So as we are in the month of December in 2017, a lot of companies are already planning, a lot of entrepreneurs, let me tell you, are planning for the next 10 years, 20 years as entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs don't look at just next year or 2 years. Entrepreneurs are looking at 5 years, 10 years. After 10 years, would this domain last? Would my customers want different product? Would the requirement change? What are other environmental factors will change? What is the technology that is going to change? Because technologically, if you see, they say that 100 years back, technological doubling, when I say technological doubling, the knowledge upgradation technologically was happening every 50 years. Current times, friends, technology is doubling every 5 years. And I'm saying doubling. That means every 5 years, whatever we knew in terms of technology is actually doubled. Now, is that some pace? Big pace. So, after 5 years, 10 years, would certain technologies be redundant, not be used? So, for example, somebody who has joined an IT sector, becoming an engineering, has done engineering, has started a journey using COBOL as a language. But today, they are extinct language, nobody uses COBOL. Now, even C++ has become, as a programming language, very extinct. Today, people speak of Java, people speak of machine learning, people speak of IoT. Now, this is just a technological upgradation. So, in whichever in whichever functions the entrepreneur is leading the way, he needs to be clear whether after 5 years, after 10 years, would these things last? Or how would this change? With those changes, are we aligned to it as well? So, this is also part of McLaren's research, that they are very highly goal-oriented. All successful entrepreneurs, they have a high need-oriented. They want to achieve a lot. They are big size. Let's take some other very common examples of Bollywood. Shah Rukh Khan. Apart from his success story in terms of what he has achieved, but one of the things that is strikingly very common, we speak of Virat Kohli as well, is the need to achieve is very strong. The passion to drive, the passion to really make it big is huge. And those are common attributes looking into need achievement. Desire for independence. Now, this is that people who are original thinkers, people who want to create, innovate, one of the things that they love is freedom. Because freedom gives them the opportunity to explore, try out new things. Some might work, some might not as well, but they would get an opportunity to try. If they are working for someone, then this is a risk, and the employer might not be really up for it because it's a cost, and he might not think about it. So entrepreneurs often seek independence from others. As a result, they generally aren't motivated to perform well in large bureaucratic organizations, very system-based organizations. They're not really keen to work there because they want to explore, they want to try, they want to reach out to new things, new technologies as well. So they're more internally driven to try new things. Self-confidence. Now they say that to be successful anywhere, friends, we know that self-confidence is important. And one of the things, it is said that self-confidence is a direct function of skills. That means the more skills you have or more expertise you have on a particular skill set, you get more confidence. So because of the high risk involved in running an enterprise, it is important that the person be confident. Also, it is important when it comes to self-confidence, also about having resilience as an attribute. When you see resilience, that means we know if you're becoming an entrepreneur or if you're running an organization, it is quite obvious that the products you are introducing, the services you are delivering, which are new to the marketplace, might not work and might lead to failure. And there are quite a few examples about it where many organizations have not even reached the break-even point after 3-5 years. Now, Oyo group of hotels, well networked, well established, but yet not even reached the break-even point after 5 years of establishment in the industry. So as an entrepreneur, it is important to have the skill of bounce back, coming back, and even if you fall down, even if your product don't work, do you have the bounce to come back becomes important. A successful track record leads to improved self-confidence. So they say that people who start a venture also had a successful track record, maybe in their college, maybe in their workstation, maybe in their performances. They were achievers. Self-confidence actually enables a person to optimize, to represent the firm. It is very important. Now, they say any work you do, self-confidence becomes important, and this definitely is essential trait of the successful entrepreneur. Self-sacrifice. Now, old saying said that no risk, no gain, isn't it? Now, risk also comes along with a factor of self-sacrifice. Now, normally people who are working for an organization, they know they have got a 8 hours, 9 hours of job. So once the job is finished, it's over. For an entrepreneur, it's never about time. So he needs to sacrifice a lot in terms of time, in terms of comfort, convenience, especially at the initial part of their journey. So till the time the business is established, it takes some time so that an entrepreneur becomes comfortable as he moves along. Self-sacrifice. Technical proficiency. So they say that it's not just about the internal attributes, these are the soft attributes, but also the IQ attributes. Now, IQ attributes includes many entrepreneurs demonstrate strong technical expertise when it comes to starting a business. So if you speak of Narayan Murthy, we all know that he used to work for Patni Computers and doing well. So he definitely had great knowledge and expertise in his domain and sphere of IT before he actually moved on to start Infosys. If you speak of a person who was started Ola, he was already employed in Uber. He knew the business model of how Uber works and wanted to replicate the model of Uber in India by starting off Ola in India. So they definitely have technical expertise in working in that zone. For example, successful car dealers usually have lots of technical knowledge when it comes to selling, servicing, parts as well of the product. Especially important in computer industry, as we mentioned. But understand, need not necessarily be. There are definitely exceptions to this. But it always pays off that the business that you are in, if you really are good at it, if you know the important touch points, if you know the nitty-gritties about it, it becomes essential. You tend to do well if you demonstrate other skills as well. So entrepreneurs have got technical proficiency. Planning. Now, let me tell you the next part of the series of this module, when we take up the next 2 hours, It would be business analysis, which is part of planning. A successful entrepreneur needs to plan well, plan his time well, plan his resources well, plan his people well, plan the process well, and also, apart from plan, also change at appropriate moments so that they become more relevant in the context. And he need to have a business plan. So a business plan for an entrepreneur is not a year plan. It's always a 5-year, 10-year, decade plan when it comes to entrepreneurs. Now, so before becoming an entrepreneur, there are a few questions that an entrepreneur should be very clear before you start a business. For you as well as students, if any of you who want to become an entrepreneur at some point of time in the future, these questions are very important to address. Number one, what are my motivations to be in this business? Why I want to do this business? What are my drives? Should I start or buy a business? Important. Should I start from scratch, or I already purchase out an established business and run it? What and where is the market for what I want to sell? So if I think about a business and if I settle for that, then where do I market it? Where do I sell it? So they say that you can't sell eyes in an igloo, isn't it? So that if you want to sell eyes, you need to go to some hot countries initially, to start off at least. So are we setting the context where to sell? How much will this cost me? And if I want to sell, what does this cost me? At what price I am going to sell? What do I gain? Should my company be working domestically or globally? Now, few questions, there are few others as well, but these are very important questions to be addressed to an entrepreneur. So, speaking on each of these points, and we will elaborate that one by one, is also what are my motivations? So, when I say motivations, deciding what are your motivations, I will direct towards what type of business fits you best. Now, I mentioned earlier as well that the motive of any entrepreneur should be to add value to the customer. That has to be the primary motive, and that's very important to recognize it. Types, if you see, it could be a lifestyle venture, it could be a smaller profit venture, or it could be a high growth venture. So based on the category and type, it could be of 3 different types. So we'll speak of each of these types. So when we speak of lifestyle venture, now lifestyle venture are small companies that provides its owner independence, autonomy and control. So lifestyle are primarily they are small business setup. They want to, they change their lifestyle. It gives a lot of flexibility as well to their work. It is often run out of a household. They are small. They actually 50 years, 100 years. The turnover don't change much. They grow by a marginal 5%, 6%, 7% annually, and that has been the case for many years together. So they're not a big flourishing organization. They're not high aspires to start off. They just are flexible about their work style. They're happy-go-lucky. It provides flexibility and also it aligns your personal interests and hobbies with a desire to make profit. So the business so for example, there are a lot of little pharma companies or pharmaceutical companies who sell pharma products, who might be in the country for last 50 years, 100 years, so it might be second generation, third generation, but not that the turnovers reach 100 crores. The turnover from 1 crore might have expanded to only 10 crores in the last 50, 60 years. That means they're just growing marginally by 5%, 6% every year annually. And they're quite happy about it. It's not that they didn't made attempt and failed, but they're happy about the way of progress because for them, other things matter. They don't want to grow so much because if you grow so much, you pay a cost for it. Cost in terms of time, in terms of resource management, in terms of stress. So, one, it could be a lifestyle venture. Second, it could be a small profit venture. Now, what are small profit venture? They are smaller companies not concentrated on pushing the envelope and growing inordinately large. They're small organization. They don't think too big. They are somewhere between the lifestyle venture and the larger organization. They make millions of dollars is not important for them, and content with making a decent living. So they are very satisfied with whatever they earn. They are classically the moms and pop shows, the grocery shows, the small shop owners, where they don't really multiply their shops from one shops, two shops, multiple shops. They're always in the shop for years together. The high growth ventures. Now, high growth ventures are the entrepreneurs where goal is maximum profit and growth. Where their objective is very much to grow big, to provide services. For them, high achievement is very important. For them, lavish living is important. For them, living outlandish is important. Concentrate on pushing envelope and growing as large as possible. Focus is always innovation. Now, for large venture capitalists, it is important. You cannot make it very big if you are not innovating, if you are not really pushing the envelope at every point of time. So we have three primarily categories when it comes to entrepreneurs. One, we have said the lifestyle ventures. Slightly bigger in terms of thought process are the small venture growth, and second is the high growth ventures. So this was the first question to be addressed. Second question was, should I start a new business from scratch or should I buy an existing business from someone and then run it? So when you say start, it is the cheapest but very difficult, where it requires a lot of planning and research. We know anything that we are starting off from scratch requires a great level of effort, perseverance, planning, execution, resilience. Buy, very expensive. There is an offhand cost involved right at the beginning because you have to buy it outright. Maybe out of reach, requires less planning because you just need to manage the show once you buy it. Or it could be somewhere in between. That means a franchise model. So if current times that if you're looking into, people look into going to franchise. For example, franchisee of Amul, franchisee of McD, franchisee of KFC, franchisee of a lot of other products, where it is somewhere the middle ground, where a business run by an individual to whom a franchisee grants the right to market certain goods or service. So in a franchisee model, what actually happens is you have one of an entrepreneur, he sells off his the right as a brand name to someone else to start the show, where for a new entrepreneur who is getting the brand name, he has an advantage. One, he already has a brand equity. He has to invest money, yes, for a place. For example, let's take Iyengar Bakery. Now, Iyengar Bakeries are bakeries which has made a big name in the last 50 years, a Bangalore-based organization originally, but they have sold off their rights to multiple franchise owners. So people who are starting the small business venture They get one, the advantage of the brand. So that means that once you open the shop, you don't need to really look out for customers because people are already sold to the brand of Iyengar bakeries. Right from cakes, biscuits, confectioneries, so on and so forth. Becomes easy. So start or buy, it could be starting, which could be cheap, but there are effort level required. It could be buying or it could be a franchise. The market, important, what kind of market you are going to pitch in. The market, the planning and research essential. Extensive market surveys important. Now they say one of the very essential attribute moving forward to become an entrepreneur is data mining. Let's take a simple example. Even for a small grocery owner, for example, let's say a cake shop or an ice cream parlor. Are they entrepreneurs also? Yes, for sure, small scale, small size. Now, even to start an ice cream parlor or a cake shop, research need to be done as what kind of population the place has where you are thinking of opening the shop. What kind of demographic patterns we have in terms of age bracket. Are there more youth, more children, more geriatrics? How many are working? Is there a college in the vicinity or is there a school in the vicinity? Or what kind of demographic patterns we have in terms of religion, in terms of statehood? What are the income patterns? Are they more employed people or entrepreneur people? Business people. So all these data touch points for data mining is important. Now magazines and polls offer some information on the material. So if you have to start a venture, it is important that any statistical recorded backup becomes important for the market. What about the cost? So that means plan realistically but not optimistically. So it's important it's very important to understand, friends, that economic engine is essential part of doing business. So if your economy is not going to support you, sometimes lack of funds doesn't allow people to even think and move forward, and people need to wrap up pretty soon. So don't overestimate your profits, don't underestimate your cost. Important variables. Sourcing of funds, so through banks, venture capitalists, angels. So be it banks, venture capitalists and angels, so all funding thing need to be very clear where I'm going to take the funds from, and we will spend a module on this as well. Speaking of venture capitalists, do the entrepreneur want to make it domestic or global? For example, drawbacks to global is more research, wherein less accessible to connections in startup phase, more travel time required since it's global. Advantages to global are fundraising becomes easily, your network better, your brand name becomes, the reach is really good when it comes to global. So it could be also a combination of both called the glocal. So they say thinking globally, acting locally could be the formula as well. Entrepreneurship, the growth pressures. Now, to become an entrepreneur, it is important. It is said, an old saying, it is said that if you're not growing, it's not that you are stagnating. They say if you're not growing, you're actually degrowing. Because for an entrepreneur, it is important that you are ahead of the market. For example, if a GDP is moving around 5-6% annually, or if your current market, the market that the entrepreneur is working on, if the market is growing by 10%, 15%, an enterprise needs to plan on a higher growth rates, 15, 20%, 25%, based on the industry, domain that the company is working for. So entrepreneurs find that a business grows, they feel more pressurized and use formal methods to lead their organizations. All this formalization purpose might compromise financial returns. Now, understanding that with the growth in organization, it is important for the organization to set up a structure for that growth. For example, if organization is growing big, they organically, inorganically, and if they don't have a support structure to back that growth, now it might be a nosedive because the organization has now outgrown itself so big that the existing structure doesn't support it. Just to give a similar parallel analogy, they see that when a child grows big, so does his legs and entire body to support the entire body, isn't it? The same small legs, you can't have a bigger body. It might not support it. Similarly, from an entrepreneurship perspective, it is important that your legs, your structure also need to grow simultaneously as the organization grows. A very important point when it comes to growth. Entrepreneurship and formal organization differ in 6 business dimensions, and those dimensions are strategic orientation, commitment to opportunity, commitment to resources, control of resources, management structure, and compensation policies. Now, these are 6 tools that we will be elaborating it in one of the modules where we look into how these growth pressures, where the organization is growing, these other alignment variables also need to fall in place becomes important. So if you see growth pressures, if you're looking into 3 variables, one from business dimension, entrepreneurial organization, and formal organization. So if for 3 various dimensions, if you see a business dimension is more strategic orientation. Entrepreneurship is all about looking for opportunity. They are more revolutionary. Entrepreneurship also lack a stable need and resource basis. They are flat and with many networks and ultimately based on team's accomplishment. If you see the middle segment, the entrepreneurial organization is dynamic by its very nature, that has own advantages and flip side as well. Vis-a-vis, if you see formal and business dimension, formals means they are already big, they are more structured, layered, they are more system oriented, they are more process oriented. Entrepreneurial, they are the go-getters in terms of the thoughts, in terms of actions. They actually inorganically and organically keep on exploring itself, and it's very different from a business dimension or from a formal organization. Going global. Now if you see that from domestic to worldwide expansion, globalization can be extremely rewarding for entrepreneurs, where thinking money and business exposed, where with a lot of communication revolution, with a lot of technological evolution as well, you just can't hold yourself to become a domestic player or a local player because things are being networked fast. The times of communication, the times of digitalization, times of banking, times of commerce, times of venture capitalistic have become so strong, so fast that it has become very important for entrepreneur to network well. So selling out private to public, where with giving an IPO offers, where you are inviting money from the public as capital for the organization also becomes important. Entrepreneurship from a perspective of managing a family business. Now there are some important data points or data which are very significant. It is said that when it comes to family businesses, they say over 50% of the gross GDP is generated from family businesses when it comes to US economy. In India also they are not very different. Close to 45% is coming from family businesses. 12% of CEOs of the Fortune 500 list of companies have family business. So why not dream up a plan and go into a business with your family or friends? A very strong word in terms of going and starting an entrepreneurship. They say two reasons not to go with a family kind of business is families fight or friends fight, wherein often it involves money, power, it could be affiliation. So one of the flip side of being in the family or running a family show is about the need for money and power. It also there are 6 successful steps that helps to lead a successful business family business. One, what happens is till the first generation of business in a family business, nothing really matters much. But when it comes to second generation, where now looking into success, a lot of family members are involved. It could be brother's family, sister's family, their children. So it is important one to get the job responsibilities clear. Very important point. Clearing on hiring criteria. Clear plan for the management transition. Agreement on whether and when to sell a business. Commitment to resolving conflicts quickly. So people should not linger over conflicts. Resolve it quickly. And outside advisors are used to mediate conflicts as and when required. So clarity is key, but there is no guarantee. But these are thumb rule that really helps to work business well. Operational versus survival issues. We'll speak on these as well when it comes to operation survival issues. So when it comes to operational, it means the decisions about the economies of business to how a balance with the rational family obligations. Means when you say of transactional business being done, day-to-day affairs, important who runs it, and also survival, but fostering problems and ultimately living to livelihood. So it also means when we are speaking of managing a family business, who is going to look at the transactional nature of business? Who is going to look into how the economies are being distributed as well? So family feud, where we have a difference of opinion, could be a severed relationship, but the relationship is not really working well. Divorce, if it's between husband and wife. Poor business performance, the results are not good. Or low morale or motivation, where the family business could come down. And there are also corporate entrepreneurs. Now, it is not entrepreneurs, it's intrapreneurs. Now, entrepreneurs, someone in an existing organization who turns new ideas into profitable realities. Not every employee has the ability to become successful entrepreneur. It takes well-developed strategic plan, innovative thinking to become an entrepreneur. Now, if you see, it's a commitment from senior management when it comes to corporate entrepreneurs. They are flexible organizational design, autonomy of the venture team. There's also incentives and rewards for risk taking, and also appropriate design control systems. And we have seen that these entrepreneurs lead on and go on to become entrepreneurs. Now, in order for this type of forward thinking for reaping the long-term benefit, it allows a different kind of team called as the skunk works. Now, we mentioned about skunk works. Skunk works are a team, although they are part of the organization, they're very different in terms of functioning. So whatever SOPs or product manuals or operating manuals that applies to rest of the organization, SOPs, doesn't apply to skunk works. Skunk works, they are given a lot of freedom, a lot of autonomy in terms of resource, time, working hours, flexibility, thinking, and they eventually become entrepreneurs for sure. So in what we have tried to do is figure out entrepreneur, the characteristics, the growth pressures, especially in terms of managing a family business. We'll look into certain other data touch points also in this module, which are significant. And the other data touch points are, when it comes to the world over, if you want to look at entrepreneurs, and that these are some startling facts that are interesting to know. And those are, every year in the US, entrepreneurs launch 8,50,000 new business. We are seeing of every year. Entrepreneur spirit, the most significant economic development in recent history, world over. 11% of the adult population in the US is actively involved in trying to new business. Now let me tell you, Indian context, it is touching 15% according to last 2012 reports. Few other touch points. Globally, close to 10% of adults are actively engaging to start a business. Men are twice as likely to start a business, which is exactly opposite in US. However, nearly 1/3 of global entrepreneurs are between the age of 25 to 44. If you see in current times as well, you see a Flipkart, you see a Cafe Coffee Day, you speak of a Paytm. They are all in the age brackets of 25 to 45. And you speak of a Biocon in India where Kiran Majumdar, there are a lot of women entrepreneurs as well. So we will also, when you speak of entrepreneurship, we are going to spend some chunk of time on the role of women as entrepreneurs as well. So there are women entrepreneurs as well in India making big. Now these are, if you see on the x-axis there are countries written, on the y-axis they are percentage of people who are actively involved in some kind of entrepreneurial activity or starting a new venture. If you see the threshold average is 10%. Now 10% of the working population, now important 10% of not total population, of the working population we define from 21 to 58, 10% of that is actively involved in some entrepreneurial activity, and these numbers are going up constantly. So if you want to put into a structured word as definition, it is the one who creates a new business in the face of risk and uncertainty for the purpose of achieving profit and growth by identifying opportunities and assembling the necessary resources to capitalize on them. So it's about mobilizing resources, technical expertise, skills to develop new products and services that they satisfy the customer needs. Just a fallout of it is characteristics, desire for responsibility, risk-taking ability, confidence in their ability to succeed, desire for immediate feedback. Now, this, friends, is important. Now, they say that if you want to be successful, you need to keep on taking feedback of how it went off. Now, my request in this session would be, you also drop a mail when it comes to feedback of the session in terms of content, in terms of the clarity, in terms of the video, in terms of what could be still done better. And these feedbacks are important. For entrepreneurs as well, this feedback is important as well. High level of energy. Now, passion is something, we mentioned about Shah Rukh Khan or Virat Kohli. Now, this kind of energy and passion to delve is important. Future orientation, where they look into always looking into the future, what they can improve, provide, give service to. And also supremely skilled in organizing and value achievement over money. So one characteristic of entrepreneur which stands out is diversity. Now, anyone regardless of age, race, gender, color, origin, or any of the other characteristics can become an entrepreneur, although not everyone should. And why not everyone should? Because Not everyone can take risk equally. Not everyone can think really big. Not everyone has the ability to bounce back because failures are very much part of success. So they say failure is not opposite of success. They are part of success. But consistent failures to take requires some temperament to move about it. Benefits. Now, what are the benefits when it comes to entrepreneurship? Important point that we should navigate on or think about. The benefits of entrepreneurship are the opportunity. One, create your own destiny. So, we have mentioned in the characteristic as well that entrepreneurs, the go-getters, the high flyers, they always believe in the philosophy and the thought that I would be driving my destiny. I am responsible for whatever I do becomes important. Making a difference. For a lot of people become an entrepreneur to feel that they are making a difference in their own ways. And that's a very important point. Reach your full potential. So people are looking into self-actualizing their skills, their vision, their mission. Reap impressive profits. So profits here compared to a salaried employee where the growth rates are 5%, 6%, 10%, maximum 15%, best of years 20%. When it comes to entrepreneurship, the growth rates that could scale up can be a 3-digit, can be 4-digit exponential growths. 100%, 200%, 300%, 1000%. I'll give an example. Paytm. So when demonetization happened on 8th of November 2016, where a call was given to demonetize and a major thrust was given to digital platforms, Paytm, in that period from November to March, November 2016 to March 2017, they have grown by 2000 times. I repeat, 2000 times in terms of subscription base that they had. Is that phenomenal? Yes, it is. That means that market opportunities can come where you can reap in rich rewards. So then when it comes to profits also, they are multiple times over. Contribution to society and to be recognized for your efforts. So when Verghese Kurian started this dream about Anand Milk Unit, that is Amul more commonly known as, it started as a journey and a mission to deliver good products, milk to across the world, across the country first. And we know now that India is the first country to be the largest milk producer of the globe. So a mission, an initiative started by Verghese Kurian as Amul has made so big that people, he has shown a vision to become much more than what we can think, can evolve much more than you can actually believe, and optimizing your potentials as well. Do what you enjoy and have fun in it. So it's not about just going to work and get salaries. For entrepreneurs, their motivation is not when a salary comes in. Money is one of the motivation. The motivation is also about enjoying what they do. So for a lot of entrepreneurs, their vocation and vacation is same. So it's that they love whatever they're doing. So people who want to start in IT are making it big in IT because they love coding, they love marketing, they love selling, they love connecting, they love problem solving. So they love whatever they do. But we know entrepreneurs is 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 not a bed of roses. It has own set of thorns. It has own set of flip sides, and a very important flip side. They say that the old saying in doing business, it is said that if you're starting an enterprise, an organization, any, be it a lifestyle, small venture growth or a big venture growth, old saying, it is said that if you can last for 1,000 days, if you start an organization, a new business venture, if you remain for 1,000 days or survive for 1,000 days, your chance that you might survive. But that means roughly equal to 3 years. And you'll find, which is backed up by the data, that a lot and many companies don't last for 3 years as a new enterprise. So one drawback definitely is uncertainty of income. So the flip side is, the rosier side is you can grow by 2,000 times, but you can also have a negative growth as well. So uncertainty of income, key risk of actually losing out everything. You can go back, you can go 10 years back, 20 years back financially. Long hours of hard work, really long hours. It's also about lower quality of life and business gets stable. So all of your focus, attention is just going there and working out your best. If you see in terms of number of hours work, if you see the major chunk is coming from working 51 to, if you see these two blocks of yellow and blue, that means that almost for 50% of people are working more than 60 hours. It's roughly 12 hours a day. Definitely more than normal working hours. So that means a lot of workers are associated when it comes to putting work every day. Few other drawbacks include things like uncertainty of income. Now, it is important to understand that when you are starting a venture, you actually don't know. If you're a salaried employee, you know, okay, this is what is coming every month. For an entrepreneur, you can't make it. You can grow 2,000 fold times, but also on the flip side, you might not have a customer that month. If you're into a niche segment where your customer base is not huge, but your volumes with every purchase and sell of possibly a machinery runs into crores, and if that particular month, a couple of months, a quarter, if it doesn't take off, then there might be no salary at all. Lower quality of life until the business gets established as well becomes important. High level of stress. So the stress of performing, the stress of earning money, the stress of delivering results, the stress of paying salaries to people who are mere employed is high stress. Complete responsibility. So if you're managing an enterprise, for an entrepreneur, it is complete ownership. That means if the enterprise needs to survive, thrive, grow, flourish, nourish, it is complete responsibility on the enterprise, right from growth, safety, nourishment, other backup plans as well becomes important. There could be also discouragement on the way as well, because not whatever you expect of comes off true. So there are areas where you also feel that things are not working as per the plan. Whatever you forecasted was looking good on paper, but when it comes to the actual realities, things are very different, and it's quite a task coping up with that. So managing discouragement is important. These are the flip cards. And a lot of time, when you're invested a lot of money, not only your money, but also managed through banks or through venture capital, and we invested that as well. And when nothing is coming for over 100 days, 200 days, 500 days, then you tend to lose heart. your confidence is shaken, you need to have the strong resilience to come back. And if you don't have perseverance, the tenacity to go through, then it becomes difficult to just sustain. Now, feeding the entrepreneurial fire, very important how a person needs to feed the entrepreneurial fire, because it is very clear for an entrepreneur to understand that if things are rosy, then things can get bad as well. Not only bad, but worse. So, what are things that entrepreneur need to be aware of so that he really gives a good fight back? And those things are entrepreneurs as heroes. Now, it's important to understand they are the path breakers. They are the people who walk a different path, who are not part of the pack. They are not the herd mentality. They're walking a different stream altogether. Entrepreneurial education is important because it's not just having a vision to think big, to contribute, to add value, but also knowing the structure, the methodicity, what have successful entrepreneurs done in the past. So it's about learning the process, the methodology. The demographic and the economic factors. So the geographical domain, the demographic patterns, the economic model, how does money flow, how does money function, what are the prevailing interest rate, how much of equity and debt in it as well. Shift to a service economy. Now, also in terms of understanding how the economy is changing as well. From globally, if you see, when the Indian economy itself, where in the current GDP, the service sector contributes to a good 65-70%. Manufacturing is just about 15-18%, and agriculture another, the third factor, which was very different 30 years back, 40 years back. So there's a major shift in the entire economic patterns. So understanding these patterns are important so that accordingly they can pitch in based on the products and services. What are the technological advancements that has been made? What are certain technologies that become redundant? What are technologies that are going to evolve? What are things that we can cope up as entrepreneurs as well? So when typewriters were getting replaced by computers, there was a major rebel or response in terms of if a typewriter or a paperwork or a manual things were done, why there is a need for computers. Now people who have rebelled, people who have protested, people who have not went on with the tide, there was a huge struggle because that's what the world was moving towards. If you look into usage of SAP or system application program for MIS, for inventory management, for sales database, it is important that was with times to manage, to be in times. The adaptation of system application programs as system software for all companies. So technological advances. It could be independent lifestyle. It's also about what kind of lifestyle the people are meeting. So a lot of time important to understand the economic theory as well. For many, if you look into major entrepreneurs, you'll find that for them the philosophy is not just about earning, but also about how do you save and multiply your saving as well. So investing your saving. So they say what you save is what you earn. But not that what you earn is what you earn. So what you save is what you earn. So, and that saving, then investing so that the money keeps on multiplying becomes important. E-commerce and the World Wide Web. So how recently you might have heard about tools of e-marketing where how people use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram to market themselves, to sell themselves. So there are Google search engines, there are AdWords that are used so that people market themselves globally as well, world over. So if you see revenues moving through from 2003 to 8 in terms of e-retail commerce that are being gradually increasing. So if you see, understanding these patterns is important. There are e-commerce revenue. That means the world of electronic things have moved on over a period of time. Understanding this knowledge and pattern for an entrepreneur is important so that then he gets aligned which businesses he should be in or which businesses he should be out. For example, so today if somebody is thinking to start a business in books, physical books, is that a great idea? In a shop? Might not be, isn't it? Because now the total percentage of readers as such globally has gone down. One. Two, majority of readers who were reading books have gone digital through Kindle, through all those digital platforms. And three, people these days hardly go to a showroom. A crossword, for example, is another dying story. Is just a niche segment left. But small book owners have already started wrapping up the shops. So if you want to start a business in books, it's not a great idea because things have been moving electronically in a different tangent altogether. There are international opportunities. So how do you correlate that with international opportunities that are also important as well? The cultural diversity that exists. So there are a lot of cultural diversity of entrepreneurship. It starts from the young entrepreneurs and also the women entrepreneurs. They are important points in this entrepreneurship book module. It means that if you see the age brackets, these days the new entrepreneurs are cropping up are their young buddies. For example, Mark Zuckerberg. In his 21, he was a billionaire. He was in the top 10 billionaires in the whole world at the age of 21. So if you see earlier, 50 years back, people who were billionaires or even becoming entrepreneurs were in the late 40s. But today, people are starting young. And there are lots of examples, right from a Bansal story of Flipkart to Agrawal's story of Ola to Siddhartha's story of Cafe Coffee Day. They're all young entrepreneurs, Indian entrepreneurs, to say so. So people are starting young. There are also women entrepreneurs, although the percentage in Indian context is less. But who doesn't know Kiran Majumdar Shaw of Biocon, whom she is revolutionizing the biotechnological field big time world over, making a presence felt. So these two brackets, when you're looking at cultural diversity perspective as well, are making a big mark as well. The minority owned enterprise as well. So areas which are regulated by minority based as well. The immigration enterprise. So if you see world over as well, people have been migrating to different countries as well. So if you go to Singapore, which has a lot of business houses, they are not only local Singapore. If you see a lot of Asians, you will find a lot of Indians out there. You'll find a lot of Chinese out there. You'll find a lot of Indonesians out there. You will find a lot of Sri Lankans, Bangladeshis out there. So methodology of doing business to become an entrepreneur, you need to understand this socio-cultural diversity as well. So if you go to London, for example, the area that will find only Indians. In US, there is a place called as Patel Nagar. There are only Patels out there. The point which I am trying to drive home is the fact that people today are more open to migrate to different places. So that means that If somebody wants to start an enterprise, to be an entrepreneur, he needs to understand that he is not dealing with a particular class society. They are all coming from diversified cultural backgrounds. So there are also part-time entrepreneurs. It's not just uh, only we have it's not just about full-time entrepreneurs. We have also people who are part-time entrepreneurs. So they might be working in some organization, but they also in weekends or in non-working hours they do their own business. There are homemade businesses as well. So there are a lot of Lijjat Papad has set the pace when it comes to homemade business, where they came on reach out with villages, rural population as well. So it could be family businesses. It could be co-preneurs. Now co-preneurs are where there are two entrepreneurs coming from the same family. It could be husband, wife, two brothers, two friends. It could be corporate cast-offs as well. So people who are coming from corporates, coming from an intrapreneur background, or it could be a corporate dropout. Somebody who's expelled. Steve Jobs was thrown out of Apple a couple of times over, and he always came out and made it big. If you see by industry, the small business industry, if you see, the major chunk, close to 40% of entrepreneurship was through service. The second biggest was retail. So if you combine the service and the retail put together, that is close to 60%. So almost 60% is controlled by a service and retail, or a combination of both. Two. For example, Jack Ma, the biggest e-commerce giant world over, is e-retail partner, and the kind of business Amazon does is huge. Again, another service plus retail combination. When you speak of small businesses, they make up for 99% of all business in the US. When it comes to small business in US, it employs 51% of the nation's private sector workforce. That's some size. Create more jobs than big businesses, and are leaders in offering training and advanced opportunities to work as well. So for people who are less skilled, or where the skill level is less, so they give job opportunities to explore. Small businesses also produce 50% of nation's private GDP. That's huge. In India also, small scale accounts to close to 60%, much more than what the US contributes. 47% of business sales come from small scale industries. It creates 13 times more innovations per employee than larger companies. Very important point. Small businesses contributing to more innovation, because they're always challenged by lack of resource, lack of time. So they're always on the lookout for innovation. They say necessity is the mother of invention. So in that case also it justifies where they're coming from. If you look at the survival rate, now that's an important point which I was referring to, 1,000-day survival. If you see, on the x-axis, it is the number of years in business. Y-axis is the percentage of small firms. If you see the new business, 100%. First year itself, only 81% survived. Second year, 65. Third year, 51%. That 55%. That means half of the new businesses got shut in the first 3 years. And if you see in a decade, only 25% remained. And that's a very important point that we need to hold in mind. Deadly mistakes when it comes to entrepreneurship are, number one, management mistakes, lack of experience, poor financial control, weak marketing efforts, failure to develop any strategic plan. Also means has Uncontrolled growth. So you have grown so much that you can't have a structure to back that up. Poor location. It could be improper inventory control, incorrect pricing, or inability to make the entrepreneurial transitory. So every phase has this transitory phase that's coming on. So if you're not able to control, manage that, becomes difficult. So putting failure to perspective, it is important that entrepreneurs are not paralyzed by the prospect of failure. Entrepreneurs are aware that failure is part of the journey. It is going to come at some point of time, but they are more prepared about it. Failure is a natural part of the creative process. So we all know part of creative destruction is definitely part of the job. Successful entrepreneurs learn to fail intelligently. When we say learning to fail intelligently, it means that they know what lessons are they drawing. They know that these lessons they are not going to repeat it. These mistakes that we are going to repeat it. So that's about learning intelligently means. So for an entrepreneur, the pitfalls that they need to avoid for small business failures are knowing your business in depth. It is very important. If you are spending time to a business, it is important knowing the nitty-gritties very well. Knowing in and out of the business is important. Develop a solid business plan. Now, having just a vision, having high growth achievement, passion, they are prerequisites. But when it comes to reality, the route map needs to be planned. There has to be a business plan. Now, when we say business plan, it's about mind mapping it. It's about creating a clear blueprint of what is in store in the next 5 years, what is the economy that needs to support, what kind of people we need, what kind of delivery channels that we are going to have, what kind of inventory mechanism that we are going to have, what are going to be the marketing strategies, how do we map sales, how do we measure sales, how do we conduct meetings, how we are going to transition phases, how we are going to manage cost, optimize cost. So all this is definitely part of solid business plan, and we will detail this as well in one of the modules when it take up business analysis. So developing a solid business plan is important. Managing financial resources is a very important economic engine. So when we were measuring in the earlier slide, that we mentioned that over a period of 1 decade, the 10 years, only 25% of companies remained. And let me tell you, 90% of time, the cause of the failure was the loss of economic engine. So the break-even need to be planned as well. What are the financial backup tools that are available becomes important. Understanding financial statements. So it's not just about making money, but how are you rotating money? What are the cycle times that you need? What are the turnover times you need? How many times you are rotating the money to make it impactful so that it is gaining you to optimize your money cycles well. So proper understanding of economies are important as well. Learn to manage people effectively. So it is all the more important also as we are growing up, is because people are also assets. It's not just money, but people are assets as well. So how people are, as an entrepreneur, you are going to manage people as well. Now people in terms of management or workers as well. So these are basic pitfall techniques, how to avoid pitfalls. So friends, in this module, what we have tried to cover is what is entrepreneur and entrepreneurship, difference between entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. We look into what are the prime characteristics required. We looked into what are the global patterns and trends, and what are the common success determining factor. How do we look into small businesses, large businesses? We also looked into common pitfalls to be avoided to become a successful entrepreneur. Great then, it was a nice time facilitating this module. friends. If you have any doubts, questions which you have marked it down, please drop a mail to ISBM. We will be more than glad to respond to you at our earliest. Please be specific in what you're writing so that the facilitator might be able to address it well. Till then, till we meet next time, keep growing, keep evolving, keep learning. Thank you so much.